We are continuing a series here on UGAsports.com. We're breaking down the top returning Georgia Bulldogs for the 2022 season. It's based off of PFF grades from last season. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We co-author Film Don't Lie on UGAsports.com, a website that you should make sure that you check out. Even cooler if you're subscribed to it. If that's not your jam, at least check out our YouTube page and make sure you're subscribed to it. We are the largest Georgia Bulldogs YouTube channel on the interwebs. I'm really proud about that. We are up to number 13 on our list of top returning Bulldogs, and long list at that, Brent. I think we started at 23.
23.
Could have probably halfway made the list a little bit further, but snap counts and sample sizes and those things. We'll talk about that even more, but on this episode, we're featuring Daijun Edwards, running back that I think both of us think is going to be kind of a key figure in the Bulldogs backfield this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned the snap count piece, and this is one, and there's actually one other on the list who was right at the sort of edge of the snap count, but we're including them mainly because of what you just said, is that it's going to this Edwards is going to be a big part of the team, and especially early. It might be something where one of the two freshmen, the true freshmen that come in, start getting some time later as the season goes on, just because you can't keep them off the field. They're that good. Who knows? But initially, he's your number 3. And as we know from watching Georgia's offense over the past 3 to 4 years, if you're the third back on this team, you're on the field a lot, and you're getting a decent amount of touches.
Daijun Edwards, class of 2020, 5'11", 205 from Colquitt County High School down in Moultrie, Georgia. So he's a South Georgia kid. If I remember right, and maybe you correct me if I'm getting my years wrong, because once you do this for a few years, you do get wires crossed here. I know he was a late signee for the Dogs.
Yes.
But I want to say that was in relation to Zach Evans. Yes.
That sounds about right.
Who's currently now at Ole Miss after a year at TCU. Georgia was seeing if they could get him. Not necessarily would he want to come to Georgia, but could they make it where he could actually go to class and things? There were a lot of things going on with Evans at that time. That was a crazy recruitment. Yes. Georgia falls into Daijun Edwards, which is kind of the moral of this YouTube video. And it turns out that heading into this season, he's going to be like one of the more impactful players on offense. And we think he's going to get a pretty good share of carries, even with 2 experienced backs in front of him. We'll bring up his Georgia Dogs profile here. He's 5'10", 201 is what he's listed at.
Yeah, and you think about, and I was semi-joking, but also not. There's a part of me that, and I tweeted this out long ago in the spring, but he could lead the team in rushing 100%, just because he's that productive when he's on the field. He's always productive when he's on the field, the reason we're highlighting him here. But, we talked about, the 2 or 3 players ago, 16, I see, Kendall Milton, how the flashes are always there, but he just hasn't been able to consistently stay healthy. And if he's not able to stay healthy consistently, and Edwards just takes the bull by the horn, or McIntosh gets, ankle here, there, and he takes it and runs with it, I could see a world where he leads the team in rushing this season.
And one other thing with Edwards, I had a source tell me, it was a single source. I didn't do a ton of reporting on it because you hear a ton of things with the portal these days. But I did have a source tell me that at one point, Daijun Edwards was as good as gone to the portal to likely Florida State. Now, I also heard the same thing about Carson Beck. And then here you look at the roster, and, yep, they're both there.
Both there.
Things happen with teenagers and guys in the early 20s. But all to say that his patience is being rewarded. And look, if you're in the top 3 at Georgia running that, you're going to get a ton of carries. And he saw carries. I thought he saw probably more than you can expect being a 5th running back, because Georgia was blowing out so many opponents. Right. So I think the snap count was low, but typically a 5th running back in an SEC school, it's going to be even lower.
Yeah, and he's consistently been that, all right, garbage, check the box, garbage time guy at the running back position. But the thing is, anytime you give him the football, he just produces, and he's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him run is the amazing part, because of, from a running style. He's a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, but to me, he runs a lot like Maurice Jones-Drew. Just all, lower half, nothing takes him down in the lower half. All just so subtle in the shifty moves, and we'll see this on the first play.
Here is that first play against Missouri.
Just subtle jump cuts. Put your foot in the ground. Little subtle secondary cut against the secondary player. He so shifty, so quick with the cuts. And obviously being low to the ground, almost borderline perfect size from a running back position standpoint. And he even seems, the way he runs, because he runs low as it is, he even seems like he might be a little bit, 5'8", 5'9" type, but just productive. And I'll get out. Yards after contact each and every time he gets the ball.
It's awareness, too, because you look at the communication happening here with Marcus Rosemary-Jackson saying, all right, I need to come in here, get my block. Daijun Edwards is paying attention to what's going on here, and you can see that in his patience as this play develops. Rosemary-Jackson comes in a little more, gets the crack there. Let me pause, take a step, but he stays vertical. He stays up and down the field. A lot of players kind of, get happy feet there and try to see what they can make. He gets forward really quickly, and I think that's what's most impressive in watching his tape is that, he gains the maximum amount of yards that he can on every single play. You cannot say that about every single running back.
No, and you think about what does Coach Donnan always talk about on the Tuesday UJ Sports Live show? Socrates, I think he says, know thyself.
Yep.
Daijun Edwards knows himself. He knows he's not 4.35, 4.4 high-end guy, and he's going to get his yards and do his work going north-south. And he does a phenomenal job of getting north-south each and every time he has the ball.
He also knows who his teammates are, because this is a big O here, Darnell. And anytime you see that and you're running behind it as he crashes in, that's probably pretty good. That's going to work out okay.
That's a good guy to have on your football team.
We'll watch it one more time and move on to the next play with Daijun Edwards. Really good run. That was against Missouri. Next play, Georgia Tech.
Pause it right when he gets the ball. Right? Now.
A little more.
Right there. That's a tackle for loss, right? You're thinking, oh, uh-oh. But he sees, that's the guy's right there. But it's, you got a lineman who's kind of coming back, beat, and then coming back to make the block. Just a very subtle shift at the running back position. And when you watch running backs, it's always one of those things where I think you can, as an evaluator, you can instantly tell that the natural instincts that the player has at that position. You could instantly tell George Pickens can go and get and adjust to a ball in the air from the time he stepped on the field. With running backs, you often just see that natural movement skills here and the ability, obviously, again, to get yards after contact right in the hole. All right, subtle shift again. All right, you're not taking me down. I'm getting yards after contact. By the way, 78% of his yards this past season after contact, most on the team. So obviously, and you think about that loading boxes into the game situation, everybody knows you're running the football. You're going to have to get him after contact, but still he gets his yards that way.
Pretty impressive of him to see this lane that I just highlighted here, because as you mentioned, he had a defender right in his face, kind of jukes around him and then goes to the open space very quickly. Could he have maneuvered this way? Potentially, but obviously he went to the correct spot on this play. That's some instinct involved there. And you had mentioned, Maurice Jones-Drew. When I watch him play, and he's built differently, and maybe I'm just trying to find the last Georgia running back, but I kind of found this with Sony Michel sometimes. We're how in the world did he get 8 yards on that play? It didn't make sense from what I was seeing. Just kind of shifty, quick cut up and down the field. And then obviously when you talk about patient running backs and these two plays that we just showed here, it's patient until you have to commit, and then it's that relationship, right? And Le'Veon Bell changed the game with that in the NFL. I don't think that's a really good comp there. I think you have a better one with Maurice Jones-Drew.
Phenomenal job again here by him, though. Still just, again, subtle movements, patient to the hole, accelerate through the hole all day, every day. I
think Georgia coaches would probably want him to shift this ball to his right hand at the end. He hasn't had fumble issues, but if you get daylight, get the ball on the outside, right?
Always, yes, yeah. That's day one. You teach that, but it's one where anymore with the way kids are and the way they're used to putting the ball in one hand, if you can do it, but more often than not, you see them drop it as they switch it anymore.
Good point.
Do it right from the beginning is the thing, I would say.
I believe this is against Charleston Southern.
Yes.
Here we go.
And this is not, and obviously,
a little bit.
You know, saying, and obviously not from a talent perspective, that team had no business being on the field with Georgia. But you see the skill set. You see the ability to move, cut, feel contact, spin off of it, keep going forward. Like I impressed every time he gets the football. Every time he's in the game, impressed with him. Obviously, it's late in the game. It's against teams worn down already. Defense is beaten up already. But I think it was something almost 80% of his carries came in the fourth quarter over the past 2 years. I think I saw when I was looking through things. But, hey, he's still productive, still gets the job done. And then because of that, you're going to see him as the third guy this year.
Well, and, you know, one thing to note that, like, late in these games when Georgia was winning by 40 or 50 points, they weren't running a whole lot of, like, complex run schemes. And so a lot of this was just, you know, run forward.
Find the hole. Or find it. You find the hole. Yeah. You do the work. We're not going to create it for you.
I think that he will even benefit more by having some plays that are specifically designed for him and his skill set and when he's supposed to be in the game. This is running down the clock, and let's hope we don't get injured, but get some guys some experience. But I guess what I'm saying is you didn't see a whole lot of, like, motion in plays with Daijun Edwards. You didn't see a whole lot of pulling guards and things like that, just because Georgia didn't need to be doing that at this point.
Correct.
In the game.
This was give him the ball, go find it.
And it worked because, I mean, he's got really good balance too. I think Dale McGee loves when his running backs kind of run close to the ground, and he definitely did that. I mentioned blowouts. How much of a compliment to the program when your fifth string running back gets PT in the fourth quarter of the college football semifinal.
Yep. And here, this is one where, for the most part, this play was blocked really well, but he does a great job of seeing the hole where it is. This is where it's like, okay, he doesn't have that fifth gear to just house this. And that's oftentimes, and that's a lot of the reason why you see him where he is from a depth chart perspective. But the vision is there. The subtle cuts to see the hole and then accelerate through it. He's going to, I mean, I think his longest career run was 37 yards, something like that, maybe 40 yards. But he's going to see it, and he's going to get consistent yardage when given the football. Now the last part.
Well, but just before we get to that, one other role that Georgia has to fill this year, and I think it's going to be a few guys, but when Georgia to hammer a game down, and I think national champions tend to have this quality, when you need to get first downs at the end, when you need that clock just to expire a little bit, when you need 4 yards and then 4 yards again, and then, you know, get the first down from there. Zamir White became really, really good at that. And James Cook played a role too, for sure. But I'm saying that, like, Zamir White, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like, those are kind of.
He was the finisher. Yes. He was the closer, in essence, like a baseball closer.
Which running back is going to take that role for the Bulldogs this year? Typically, it's a bigger guy. I think McIntosh can probably do it. Kendall Milton can obviously do it with the size. But I think Daijun Edwards may end up being that closer.
And he might be, and a lot of it's because of the things we highlighted. The ability to find the smallest of cracks and go get positive yards, get north-south. Which in short yardage, especially in short yardage situation, that's what you need.
Not going to have that good of yards, but this is a negative play, this in the passing game.
Yeah, and this is one where you think about, all right, your role is increasing in 2022. How you can't be a one-dimensional, hey, when you're in the game, you're only going to give you the ball kind of thing. You got to be able to go catch the football in the backfield. And here it's a bad play in general, and we pick six. It's the only points they gave up against UAB. But it's just from a comfort level, you haven't really seen that from him. I think he's caught 3 passes on 6 targets for 45 yards. Most of that was on 1 catch that he had as a freshman, I think. But, you know, it's one of those where it's a part of the game, much like pass pro. Like every time we talk about running backs, we talk about pass pro. He's had 3 career snaps in pass pro. Like, hopefully you getting that work in practice, because he hasn't been able to do it, and we haven't been able to see these things in the game yet.
So I'm just highlighting what was happening here. Pretty clean pocket, I would say. Yeah, we got a rusher coming here, so you're going to be getting rid of the ball. But you see how Daijun Edwards is aligned right here. Like he's not getting his head around to a football, so this would have to be lofted a ton. Does not deter Carson Beck from being like, "That's fine. We're going to throw this out here." You see the result of it. This is not a good play from multiple players. I think it takes an error for the quarterback and the running back for this to result in the way that it did. But this is unacceptable for a team of Georgia's caliber.
Not good. And hopefully we don't see that. And I can't remember exactly how much, if at all, how much he was involved in the passing game in the spring game. But I know we saw Milton some in the passing game, a little more than we used to seeing. But those guys are going to have to be, him and Edwards are going to have to be involved in the passing game, because you can't be just, all right, when those two are in the game, we're running. When McIntosh is in the game, we got a little bit of both. You can't be that from a predictability standpoint. And I think you're going to see it.
Got to do everything. That's what the case with the Georgia running backs. He does come in at number 13 on our list of top returning Bulldogs. Again, you mentioned that he is ahead of Kendall Milton. This is not an opinion on us saying that he's a better player than Milton. It's not that at all. I know people are going to be like, well, I don't understand how that works. Look, this is grading, and typically when you have a greater sample size, there's probably more of an opportunity to make errors. And so Kendall Milton was going to have more plays where there could have been errors than Daijun Edwards did. And Kendall Milton was probably playing against better competition because, it was typically
when he played
for Edwards. Yeah. So a lot of factors involved. Again, PFF looks at every play from every game, and they compile a total grade from that. So each play from every player, whether they had, were super involved to where the football went or not, that gets graded in a way. And that's the list that we're breaking down. So that gets us to number 12 will be our next feature, and we'll have that coming up later this week. Brent, thanks as always for doing this. Thank you all for watching and learning a little bit more about Daijun Edwards. We'll see you next time here on UGA